Alright everybody, and welcome back to the channel, and welcome if you're new. Today we're going to do a stat comparison of the Fara 83 and the AK47 as far as TTK goes. We're going to look at recoil patterns. We're going to take a look at some optimized class setups and kind of factor in as well some practicality, ease of use, etc, because we could have all these numbers down on paper, but you know, if the feeling isn't right, then obviously, you know, we're going to favor one gun over the other. So that's what we're going to go over today. So if you guys do enjoy the video, a like is appreciated, and make sure to subscribe to make your way back to more Call of Duty content. First, I wanted to compare the Fara 83 and the AK47 time to kill with the most optimized barrels that you could use on both of these weapons. So we can get a pretty accurate understanding of, you know, where these assault rifles stand once we put on the most optimized barrels on them. So for example, the AK47, I do recommend to put on the VDV reinforced, and that's going to extend this damage range all the way out to 70 meters. Whereas the Fara 83, there aren't really too many choices for barrels that you should be using, and the only one that you should be using is the Liberator barrel on the Fara 83, because that will increase your bullet velocity exponentially. So, you know, we're going to get into the stats in a little bit, but for now, this is the TTK chart of what the best barrels look like when you put it on these guns. So you could see how competitive these two guns really are and why we are comparing them today. AK47 as well as the Fara 83, they're both 300 millisecond time to kill up to that 63 meter range, but the slight edge goes to the AK47 at that 70 meter range. While this does look attractive on paper, it just doesn't make a lot of practical sense. AK47's bullet velocity is not that great, whereas the Fara 83, even at this range, you're still going to get a really good hit detection, because the bullet velocity when you put on that Liberator barrel is going to transform the gun into an instant hit detection, and we're going to get into the stats in a little bit just to prove that. As far as the AK47 goes, it's still really solid up close. I would say it's probably the best close range assault rifle, also mainly because of the handling and the mobility that comes with the AK47 versus the Fara. The mobility and the handling is okay, but it's just not as great as the AK47. However, anything at long range, AK47 is not going to do well against the Fara 83. The Fara 83 is going to be the far superior weapon because of that bullet velocity. Now, if we're going to compare the Fara 83 versus the AK47 head to head, it's just unanimous right now. The Fara 83 has the fastest hit detection versus the AK47. It doesn't even matter what barrel you put on the AK47, no matter how much bullet velocity you're adding, the AK47 still has nowhere near any chance to get as close to the Fara 83 right here at 61 milliseconds. This is insane. This is very fast, especially when you compare it to the results of the AK47. There is really nothing that comes close. And the same could be said even pre-patch. Even pre-patch, the Fara 83 still had the superior hit detection on pretty much all the barrels that did offer bullet velocity. Without a doubt, the Liberator barrel is the best barrel hands down to use the Fara 83, and on the AK47, the VDV reinforced is the best barrel to use. Now, I know this doesn't give you the best value as far as fastest hit detection, but if you take a look at it from a practical standpoint, the AK47's damage range is pretty small. So if you want it to be a viable assault rifle, we do have to extend that damage range from 32 meters all the way out to 70 meters with this reinforced barrel, and it also does increase that time to kill range from 32 meters to 70 meters. So that is what is going to make the AK47 competitive with the Fara 83. All right, so here's a quick comparison of the AK47 versus the Fara 83 as far as recoil patterns go. Now, you know, we're talking about the AK47 and the Fara 83 here. Let's be real, both of these guns are pretty easy to use and pretty easy to control that recoil. So with that said, you know, just taking a quick glance, you know, if we were to compare their recoil patterns from no attachments, the AK47 has a lot more noticeable horizontal recoil control versus the Fara 83 is literally a straight line that goes up into the right, into the corner, and that is more vertical recoil control. Now, you know, if I were to, you know, say which one has better recoil control, you know, I would have a really hard time, because, you know, these are the attachment combos. You know, when you're trying to find the best recoil control, this is what they look like right here on this bottom row. And as you can see, they're all pretty similar, especially the same attachment combos. They have very similar recoil patterns when you put on the same exact attachments on both weapons. For example, if you take a look at the 𝗧𝗠𝗔𝗠 𝗞𝗔𝗥𝗡𝗦 plus the 𝗧𝗠𝗠𝗥 speed grip, which is what I do advise you to use on the Fara 83 as well as the AK47, you know, they have a pretty similar recoil pattern here, except for this little bulge comes out to the left side, whereas over here the bulge comes out to the right side. So the recoil pattern on the AK47 goes up and slightly to the left, versus the Fara 83, it's like the complete mirror opposite. It goes up and to the right. So, you know, both of these recoils in hindsight, in a practical sense, are very easy to control. You know, you just got to pull slow slightly on that right thumbstick when you're firing your weapon. It's just, I don't know, man. You guys got to let me know down below in the comments, which gun do you think is better to control that recoil? But here's all the data for you guys to take a look at. So you just let me know down below in the comments, what do you feel is the better recoil controlled weapon? Now I'm going to offer you guys a couple class setup choices for the Fara 83 as well as the AK47. So starting off with the Fara 83, this is going to be an 8 attachment class setup. So for the optic, we're using the Microflex LED. Muzzle is going to be the 𝗧𝗠𝗠𝗥𝗡𝗦𝗧 compensator. And again, we do want to avoid attachments that will slow us down as far as shooting move speed. These are assault rifles, so assault rifles don't normally have the best of mobility. So if we're going to put on something like the KGB Eliminator, for example, that is going to reduce our speed while we're shooting our weapon, and that is actually not a good thing in a gunfight. We do want to avoid that, so we'll use a 𝗧𝗠𝗠𝗥𝗡𝗦𝗧 compensator, which gives us pretty good recoil control. Barrel, we're going to be using the Liberator barrel. So this is pretty much the only barrel that you should be using on the Fara 83, mainly because of that 100% bullet velocity. If you guys want to see an in-depth video of me actually testing out these bullet velocities, make sure to check out the link down below in the description. But basically, this is important because this is what is going to predict how fast it's going to take for the bullet to hit your target from wherever you're standing. The higher the bullet velocity, especially on ARs, the more instant our shots will hit our targets. Body, we're going to be using the KGB target designator. This is optional. You can use whatever you want to, but this is my personal preference because whenever you can see opponents from a farther distance, just gives you a little bit more information and helps you make an educated decision on how you want to push the map. Underbarrel, we are going to be going with the 𝗧𝗠𝗠𝗥𝗡𝗦𝗧 speed grip. Again, going along with the theme of ARs needing just a little bit more mobility. This is why we are using this attachment, because it gives us more sprinting move speed as well as that horizontal recoil control. Now the 𝗧𝗠𝗠𝗥𝗡𝗦𝗧 grip, that is a huge reduction to our shooting move speed. You can imagine how slow you are going to be in a gunfight if you are using this attachment and your opponent is literally going to dance circles around you, and that is not a good thing. And also to add, the 𝗧𝗠𝗠𝗥𝗡𝗦𝗧 grip is not worth it. It only reduces your vertical recoil control by 2%, and that is not worth it in my opinion. You might as well just go with the 𝗧𝗠𝗠𝗥𝗡𝗦𝗧 speed grip. You get the best bang for your buck with the least amount of cons. Magazine, we're going to be going with the 40 round magazine. This is optional. You could go with the 𝗧𝗠𝗥𝗡𝗡𝗦 clamp if you want to, but my personal style is to try to mitigate the ADS negatives as much as possible. For example, if you put on the VDV 50 round fast mag, you reduce your ADS by 25%. So obviously that's going to put you at a disadvantage versus SMGs, which generally have a faster ADS time. So we want to do our best to be able to compete against all weapons in the game. So either go with the 40 round or go with the 𝗧𝗠𝗥𝗡𝗦𝗧 clamp. Handle is going to be the serpent wrap. We do not want to have too much sprint to fire time cons, so the serpent wrap is definitely the happy medium between the 𝗧𝗓𝗡 wrap, because the 𝗧𝗓𝗡 wrap is not really that big of a difference as far as aim down sight pros go, and the sprint to fire time and your shooting move speed get affected. So that's why, in my personal opinion, the 𝗧𝗓𝗡 wrap is not worth it. Serpent wrap is the way to go. Stock, we are going to be using the KGB skeletal stock. This is going to increase our aim walking movement speed as well as our sprint to fire time. Both are relatively important, especially for assault rifles, so we do want to go ahead and maximize our mobility as much as we possibly can. And here is my 5 attachment class setup for the Fara 83. So not really much has changed. It's pretty much the same exact thing, except for I've removed the optic. Muzzle is still going to be the 𝗧𝗠𝗠𝗥𝗡𝗦𝗧 compensator. Barrel is still the Liberator. Body has been removed. Underbarrel is still the 𝗧𝗠𝗠𝗥𝗡𝗦𝗧 speed grip. Magazine is the 𝗧𝗠𝗥𝗡𝗦𝗧 clamp. Handle is the serpent wrap, and there is no stock. However, you could remove this magazine and you could also replace that with the KGB skeletal stock. So magazine is optional, you don't need it, but if you feel like you need a little bit more extra rounds, then remove the stock once again and put on your 40 round magazine. Moving on to my AK47 class setup. There is no optic on this class setup. I feel like the iron sights are sufficient enough so we do not need an optic on it. However, if you do want to use an optic, you can go ahead and use the Microflex LED. Pretty solid choice for all the assault rifles in the game. Muzzle is going to be the suppressor. Now, I know this seems a little bit counterintuitive. However, this does only reduce our effective damage range to 70 meters, which is sufficient enough. Most of our engagements typically happen within 40 meters or less, and the bullet velocity is nothing to worry about either, because we are going to be using other attachments that do mitigate this negative, such as the VDV reinforced barrel. So this is where we're getting our extra bullet velocity as well as that effective damage range. Because if we didn't have this and we just had the Liberator barrel, you know, that TTK is going to go up to 400 milliseconds as soon as we hit that 33 meter mark. So you know, we want to extend that, and by using this VDV reinforced barrel. All right, so for the body, we're going to be also using the KGB target designator. Underbarrel is going to be the 𝗧𝗠𝗥𝗡𝗡𝗖𝗪 speed grip. Magazine is going to be the 40 round. Handle is going to be the serpent wrap, and stock is going to be the KGB 𝗧𝗘𝗥𝗡𝗧 stock. Now here is my 5 attachment class setup with 6 perks. This one I tend to prefer the most because this one helps me stay alive the longest, mainly because we are using Ghost and Ninja. So for the muzzle, we're using the suppressor. Barrel is going to be the VDV reinforced once again. Underbarrel is also the 𝗧𝗠𝗥𝗡𝗡𝗧 speed grip. Handle is the serpent wrap, and the stock is going to be the KGB 𝗧𝗘𝗥𝗡𝗧 stock. So I've removed the magazine, I've removed the body, and I've removed the optic essentially in this 5 attachment class setup. Everything else is still going to be the same exact attachments. Now, of course, there is some breathing room here for the magazine. You can remove the stock once again and put on the 40 round magazine if you wish. But for me personally, I do prefer having that extra spin to fire time as well as that aim walking movement speed on the AK47. All right, so my final verdict and opinion on both of these assault rifles is that they are obviously very good. We've seen the stats, we've literally seen the numbers, the TTK, and that is pretty much what matters in this game. As far as mobility goes, you know, both of the weapons, you know, they aren't really that great. You know, the AK47, in my opinion, as far as mobility goes, it does have a slight edge over the Fara 83, and also because it has the ability to have a suppressor on it, but it's not going to affect the damage range or the performance of the gun. The AK47, you know, does look attractive in that sense, but honestly, I still think the Fara 83 is the more superior assault rifle, mainly because of that bullet velocity. The bullet velocity is really what matters in this game, and if the Fara and the AK47 were to shoot a moving target at a specific range, 100% the Fara 83 is going to shoot that target faster, because the bullet velocity is just so much more superior versus the AK47. The AK47's bullet velocity is not that great to begin with. At that point, it doesn't even matter if the TTK is identical at 300 milliseconds at the same exact ranges. Plain and simple, if the bullets are going to hit a lot faster on the Fara 83, then in a practical sense, the Fara 83 is going to win those gunfights a lot more consistently and a lot faster than the AK47. And the Fara 83 is versatile. You can use it up close and also out to long range if you wanted to. And the other main problem with the AK47 with bullet velocity is that you can't really use it at long range like you can with the Fara 83, because the Fara 83's bullet velocity is unmatched. It's got really great hit detection no matter how far the range is. That's just my verdict. Do let me know down below in the comments if you do agree with me, or if you don't. I'm sure there are a ton of you guys who are disagreeing with me right now, you know, in my decision on what I think is better. You let me know down below in the comments what your opinion is. You know, just to close it out, the AK47, don't get me wrong, is definitely a meta weapon. It's great when you're using it up close and personal, but the Fara 83 is pretty much an all-purpose type of weapon. So that's why I give the edge to the Fara. That bullet velocity, all-purposeness, you can use it at range, and the AK-47 is just, in my opinion, it's only good up close. Hope you guys did enjoy it. Leave a like on the video if you learned something, and make sure to subscribe for more Call of Duty content and to make your way back. Yo, if you guys are always on your computer all day, or you like to game for long sessions, definitely check out GamerAdvantage.com for these blue light blocking glasses. Quite literally the best blue light glasses that you can ever find on the market. Make sure to check out GamerAdvantage.com and just learn more about it, man. There's so many benefits to keeping your eyes nice and healthy. You won't feel that strain at the end of the day, and you'll go to sleep like a baby at the end of the day, and that's the best part. You won't feel tired at all. Definitely check out GamerAdvantage.com. Use code TURBO at checkout.